And we are live. Hello, everybody. RJ Carter with CriticalBlast.com, author of The Destroyer Bully Pulpit, Continental Divide, and the most recent Destroyer novel, Monumental Terror. Let's get a little bit of a nicer picture here. Nobody wants to stare at the ceiling insulation. That's good enough. So we're doing this live again. We're just kind of having fun with the live streams. So far, we are on a streak. Last 3 live streams we've had have had interruptions in them. First time we ran out of power because I wasn't monitoring the battery on the laptop. The second time we dropped internet in the middle of the stream, and we came back up, but y'all had gone home, so why not, right? And then last night I minimized the window, and the entire Streamlabs thing went away, and I had to reconnect. So I'm not touching it tonight. We're going to stay away from closing windows out, and we're just going to talk comics and stuff. We had Stephen Mitchell on the other night talking about Bulletproof, the young adult superhero novel that Critical Blast has published, and he is the author of. And this topic came up of superhero novels, and I brought up a few examples from my collection. I did find some more. I thought when I saw that there was a Further Adventures of Batman Volume 2 featuring the Penguin, that I didn't have it, and so I did a little bit of digging, and lo and behold, it was a Rubbermaid that I hadn't quite opened yet. So yes, I did get all the Further Adventures of Batman. Again, this is an anthology text stories, and of course Will Murray is in this one too. The man is a god. I don't know when he sleeps. This also has stories in it by Greg Cox, who's done some other DC novels. William F. Nolan. Max Allan Collins, of course, a great writer. Nancy Collins and Jerry Novick. So, and this is, good Lord. This is 425 pages of story. So absolutely well worth the money to get these things when they came out. I also showed I had some Justice League novels that were out, and then we had the Superman, the Batman. They did other ones. They did a Green Lantern that I don't have, a Flash that I don't have. They did a Wonder Woman that I do have somewhere. And of course, they did all together now the entire JLA. And I think it's more difficult to write a novel about people who have superpowers that are very visual in nature. Batman's mystique comes from the fact that he appears out of the shadows and he looks dark and spooky. And I don't think that that carries across in a novel as well as it does in a movie or in a really well-drawn panel that's set up and framed in a comic book. So what we have here is Exterminators, JLA Exterminators. When a mass outbreak of superpowered individuals threatens the world, the JLA determines that latent metahuman abilities are being triggered by an alien contagion, one that's spreading throughout Earth as it transforms its hosts into monstrous engines of destruction. Racing to contain the infection, the world's greatest superheroes link the parasitic plague to an alien invasion from the team's earliest days and make a horrifying discovery. The JLA itself is responsible for the imminent disaster they now face. I remember none of that, and I know I read this book, so I guess I'll have to read it again. Again, this is mass market paperback. We got to quit saying trade. Trade paperback is something entirely different in size. 336 pages here from Christopher Golden. Christopher Golden, hell of a writer. Chris Golden's done some of the best stuff I've seen out there in comics and in novels. So if you ever see something with his name on it, it's well worth it. Lynn Abbey and Robert Asprin, the guy who did Myth Adventures and several other fantasy novels, did this Catwoman story that I found. This one's a slimmer volume. It's only like 194 pages. Again, though, it's mass market, so 194 pages in small print. It's pretty cool. And in true fashion of read the book, don't see the movie, Return of Swamp Thing by Peter David. Proof, once again, by the way, signed. Gotta love that. Proof once again that a good writer can take a crappy movie and turn it into something worthwhile. Read Return of the Swamp Thing. It's very, very good. In fact, for true proof of the concept, go out and find Peter David's novelization of Batman Forever. Because when he gets into the Riddler's head, it's an entirely different story than we saw with the Jim Carrey novel. That was just, or with the Jim Carrey movie. Getting my terms mixed up here. Awful movie, great book. And then I had mentioned this one, How Like a God, and I couldn't remember the author's name. The author's name is Brenda Clough, or Clough. I'm sorry, I only see it written. I haven't heard it said, so I can't be sure. How Like a God is a very, very cool story. What is it like to have absolute power? You'd be Superman, right? Righting wrongs, making people happy, bringing justice and peace to the world. That's what Washington, D.C. computer programmer Rob Lewis thinks when he wakes up one morning to discover that he can read minds and change them. But he soon finds that he can't control himself. Terrified that he will destroy the way of life he so cherishes, he runs away from his wife and his family, his comfortable suburban home, to live the life of a derelict on the streets of New York City, where he becomes isolated from humanity, a moral and physical wreck. When Rob hits bottom, he meets Dr. Edwin Barbarossa, a neurobiologist at the National Institute of Mental Health, who accompanies him on an epic journey from the mean streets of the Big Apple to the deserts of Uzbekistan, where he finds the answers to the questions that have almost destroyed him. What am I, a god or a monster, and who has done this to me? So, yeah, this is, if you could read minds and change people's minds, that would be a very tempting superpower to have. Because how do you control yourself to? You can't argue with anybody, because if you believe you're right, then you're going to make them believe you're right too. That would be I would hate to have that superpower, because I think that's too powerful of a superpower. It becomes something you would almost do without trying to use it. I'd actually start questioning, if somebody started to agree with me on something, I'd actually start questioning, are they really agreeing with me, or am I somehow latently making their minds agree with me? And of course, as I'm digging through the books and the anthology, the best of, this was a great collection when it came out. The greatest Batman stories ever told. Sadly, the edges of the dust jacket here are beaten up from way too many moves. I say sadly because it would probably be worth a whole lot more money. Not that I will ever sell it, because it's irreplaceable to me. This is a Dave Dorman cover, and so I have Dave Dorman's signature on it here. And yes, I have Julius Schwartz's signature on it. I don't know if you can see all the other ones here. Steve Englehart, Dick Giordano, Julius Schwartz, Dick Sprang, Jim Aparo, and Sheldon Moldoff, who had done some of the Golden Age Joker stories. So, yeah, Aparo, Sprang, Moldoff, Dorman, Schwartz, Denny O'Neil, and Steve Englehart. So, and on the inside here, an editor, not a writer, but he was there, and his name is in the book, Bob Rozakis, DC's answer man himself. I used to devour those answer man columns. I thought that was really cool to be that up on DC trivia. So anything that Bob Rozakis wrote, I would memorize it. On the rare chance I found myself on Jeopardy and being asked about red kryptonite versus blue kryptonite. Blue kryptonite, by the way, kills plant life. And if you don't know what red kryptonite does, then you're not a comics fan. Similarly with the greatest Joker stories ever told, Similar collection here. Uh, you know, Jim Aparo, Dick Sprang, Julius Schwartz, Bob Rozakis, Denny O'Neil, Sheldon Moldoff. Um, I cannot read that. Oh, that's Steve Englehart. I should have remembered that one. Yeah, and Steve Englehart on this one too. The Adventure of the Laughing Fish. So only one I don't have on this one. And I guess it's just because he didn't do anything in it. Dick Giordano must not have done anything in this book. And of course, Dave Dorman didn't do the cover, so I don't have Dorman's signature in here. Just a couple of things I thought I would share with you guys tonight as I was digging through the comics. So we went to see Last Christmas tonight, and to tell you how the movie is, I think the credits are just about rolling, and I've been home for an hour. It's not a Christmas movie, really. It's presented as one. It's just way too cynical and way too much. If your kids can't sit down in front of a Christmas movie and watch it, then it's not a Christmas movie. So we walked out on that one. I'll be writing a review up for that for the website soon. I'll probably give it 2.5 stars or 3 stars out of 5. Just have to, finish up my thoughts on it, really. And then on Twitter earlier today, I saw something. I'm not sure what it was, and I had to do some research on it. Somebody showed Teen Lantern, and I'm guessing this is somebody in the Young Justice or Wonder Comics. Brian Michael Bendis has a creation here, and basically Brian Michael Bendis is so in love with Riri Williams that he had to bring her to the DC universe by way of the Green Lantern mythos. And it looks like she's a teenager who wanted to be a Green Lantern, so she hacked the OA computers across the galaxy with Earth technology, and not only hacked their computers, but then reverse engineered how the power rings work. Yeah. Okay. Not buying it, Bendis. Here's a thought. Why don't you create a new character? We're kind of getting tired of Naomi Riri, reruns of Riri. Yeah, you've done it. You've played that tune. We've heard it. It's getting old. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on that. I'll look into it and see what the reading is of it. I know for years there was a call for a Teen Lantern in some of the message boards whenever it was time to induct new Teen Titans or new Young Justice members. And they were always saying, well, we want a Teen Lantern. Why can't we get a Teen Lantern? And now they've got one, but it's Riri. Now, I'll tell you what would be interesting if Bendis wants to try to pull this off. Maybe if he could say somehow that it's actually the same person across the universe is doing that DC All Access kind of thing. Maybe she's found the bridge, and if she can re-engineer or reverse engineer Iron Man's armor, then it would make it more sensible that she could reverse engineer Owen technology and rebuild it with what she can find on Earth. That would still be a hell of a story to try to pull off, but it would make it more interesting if he just came out and said it's the same person rather than try to pass off copies of the same character and just make us think that, we didn't notice, this is not the Riri you're looking for. Anyhow, let us know what you'd like us to address going on in comics right now, because there is a lot, and it's kind of hard to keep up with all of it. There's a lot going on with Comicsgate. Every time I think the fighting in Comicsgate is over, it flares back up again. It's like trying to put your finger on a bead of mercury. It's like, okay, I got it now, and it just moves around. You can't catch it, contain it, control it. You just got to kind of sit back and watch. As far as I'm concerned, all these creators who are Comicsgate or say they're Comicsgate, they're less Comicsgate than I am. I create no comic books. I'm a comic book consumer. And if it's a consumer movement, well, I'm Comicsgate. And you guys are just trying to cater to me. And some of you are succeeding and some of you are failing. So I don't know that creators can actually say they're Comicsgate. They might be able to say that they're pursuing the Comicsgate market. That would be maybe a more accurate terminology. Maybe they agree with the Comicsgate philosophy, but they're still creators. So they're just trying to go where the money is. And right now the money is with Comicsgate. Comicsgate consumers have proven that they will shell out bucks in mass for products that they feel appeases to them or appeals to them or caters to them in some fashion. And right now, DC and Marvel, they're trying to cater to somebody else, and they're getting the money that those people will pay out for being appealed to. And it doesn't look like there's much money there. So maybe Marvel and DC are trying to appeal to the wrong crowds. I don't know if either of the publishing companies are going to take a lesson from all of this or not. I think there's a turnaround happening. I think we're seeing that turnaround happening with Star Wars, with Disney. I think Disney's starting to see, hey, we're all this doubling down on what we've been doing is stupid and we're losing money. Let's stop it. Even if we just got to hard stop it, not course correct, just stop, flat out stop. This is the end. I don't know. I'd like to start seeing some products from DC and Marvel that just get back to telling good old superhero stories. Maybe if they just got an editor with some guts who said, this is what we're going to do, and then the publisher sees that editor outperform all the other editors with the books under his guidance or her guidance, then it might send the message. And maybe that's something, rather than just say, hey, all you mainstream comic book publishers, you're out the door. We're not going to deal with you anymore. We're going to do our own thing. That's definitely one way to do it. It's not great for the LCS, of course, but if we could find titles that these publishers are putting out, maybe something that's flying under the radar, something that does just tell the story, and then market that to everybody else who's wanting to look for that and saying, hey, we know that there's a message being sent out in Captain Marvel and we don't like it very much. And yeah, we're seeing things happening in Batman that just, hurt our gut. But did you see that this thing is happening in Caped Comic number 50 here? And if you follow that story from number 50 to number 52, it's just this fight scene that goes on between these two antagonists, and the good guy wins and the bad guy loses. You should check it out. And more people did that, and suddenly that book starts to pick up in sales. Well, that might send the message to the publishers that, hey, we're succeeding with this. AT&T wants to make money. Disney wants to make money. And what you'll see historically is that what makes them money is what they will repeat. When something blows up at the box office, you get a sequel. They're like, do that again. Do that again. Let's keep doing that again until it quits making money. So the same thing will apply to comics. Find comics that are published by these mainstream guys. If you can find one, that's the challenge. That's the scavenger hunt for this week. Find one of those comics. Start buying the hell out of it. Tell your friends to buy the hell out of it. And when they see that comic making money, they will repeat what that comic does. It's a theory. It's something we could, try out and see if the message get through. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. What do I know? I'm just a comics consumer. I just read comics for a living and a lifetime. Anyhow, that's my thoughts for the night. I'm not going to stay on here for another hour and a half, just rambling to myself and to people show up. Uh, we'll be back. We were going to be on earlier today. Usually we do the first weekend of the month with Cosmic Comics, and we do a podcast, and we were going to be talking about Lou Scheimer and Filmation, but we've had some hours shifted around, so we're going to have to reschedule with Dave Dyer, the owner of the store, and see what we can do with that. We'll be back with that soon. We're also trying to get some interviews with some of the voice talent that did the Filmation shows, so we're just trying to get those schedules to line up and see who's available. I don't want to say any names that we're talking to, because if they don't come through, then we don't want to put them on the spot. But some of them have been, they'd be recognizable names. Let's say that, if you were to look them up and see what they had done. We will be back tomorrow. We're trying to do this every night just to get a feel for it, make the channel grow, make myself grow as a presenter and a rambler and a podcaster. So I will be trying to find some topics to continue to expound on. I will continue to pull books from the stacks, pull books from the boxes. Sometimes it's fun just to grab a stack and say, let's go through a pile, walk down memory lane, and hashtag remember comics. Thanks for coming by, guys. We'll talk to you again soon.